Well, welcome. I think a lot of people don't realize that you are Canadian or that you were born in Canada. I know you got dual citizenship now.
Well, down in Texas, there's a lot of people don't know where Canada is, so that's not a surprise. Yeah, how can we live in a place called Canada? I mean, Canada, you can't do it?
So it's interesting. So you kind of have this rhythm and blues background,
Yeah.
which is very American, and then you've got your Canadian sensibility. What talk about the hybrid of the way your Canadian kind of dry wit informs your rhythm and blues musician kind of American sensibility?
Well, the rhythm and blues came from the black people that were up in Canada.
Okay.
Well, I hooked up with one of the guys who was an incredible football player, Tommy Milton, and he turned me on to all the rhythm and blues because the black porters that worked the trains would go down into the States and they would bring back these race records. And we were the only ones that had privy to them, and so we started learning, we put a band together, we started learning all these obscure Bo Diddley songs and Muddy Waters and all the good blues. And when we laid it on the Calgary audience, they had no clue. They thought it was all original.
Did they think it was totally far out?
Oh, they loved it. I mean, rock and roll, that was just at the time rock and roll, Bill Haley and was coming out, and Elvis and that, and so I got hooked into this black crowd, and I got in there as a dancer. I used to do what do you call it, the Lindy Hop, the jive.
Mm-hmm.
That was a big dance in the 50s. But I was a dancer, and then I got into the friends with the black guys. And then he found out I could play guitar, Tommy, and so we put a band together, and then we were instant success.
And was that in Calgary?
That was in Calgary, and
then you went down to Vancouver.
Well, we got kicked out of Calgary. It's an interesting story. I wrote about it in my last book called The Unauthorized Autobiography of Cheech and Chong. I've had this social consciousness all my life. And so what I did when we had the band, I started a teen club to help the teenagers, give the teenagers in the area something to do. And so by starting this teen club with a charter and everything, the city couldn't really shut us down because the kids. What was happening? The kids were coming to the dance. Then after the dance, let's party, let's do something. We got them all fired up, ready to go. And so the mayor of the city, Don McKay at the time, he told us to leave town for the holidays, and so that's how we went down to Vancouver.
How was Vancouver back then? Was it as cool and liberal as it is now?
Vancouver has always been incredible. It's the heroin capital of the world to begin with. And at the time, in the 50s, the cops were pretty corrupt. They were on the take. We found a theater, so we opened a blues club. We had Ike and Tina Turner open it for us, and a big success. But then the neighbors again, they asked us to leave town, and so that was in Vancouver. A lot of fun.
I bet.
Oh, a lot of fun.
So I know you always have kind of considered yourself a musician more than a comedian.
I still do.
And there weren't comedy clubs in the 60s and 70s and even the early 80s. So
folk clubs.
Folk clubs. So I mean, you'd go play in front of Cannibal Adderley or somebody like that down in LA, and you'd open for these guys, right?
Oh, yeah. Jazz clubs. Jazz clubs, folk clubs, jazz clubs, yeah. We were, like, Cheech is a singer, as well, and I'm an old guitar player, so I I learned all this good jazz comedy, and that's really was the basis of all our comedy.
And is that where the weed kind of came in? Because I mean, the jazz singers were kind of known as being, some people that brought weed onto the scene. I mean, how did the weed bit become so integral to the comedy?
The weed came in thanks to Second City and the committee.
Yeah.
The committee. I happened to see these guys first, and they just did little weed bits, like two cops. There's two guys smoking. Hey, good stuff. Yeah. Oh, look, there's a speeder, and they put on the cop hat. We'll get him. But what they loved is the Chicano and the hippie. Mm-hmm. Two crazy guys sharing the biggest joint ever. The joint grew like our bed.
Right.
The joint grew. It started out with just a little joint. Next thing you know, hey man, try this. Oh,
it's like the old improv idea of heightening. Just heighten it and heighten it and heighten it.
Yeah. So the weed thing, and then when we started doing records, that's when we started. That got us the attention, and then we did Up in Smoke. Well, forget it.
Right.
As soon as we did Up in Smoke, we were the pothead comics all time.
Yeah, exactly.
The story really was about the hunt for the weed.
Right.
Once you got the weed, you take a toke, hand it to your friend, and then about an hour later he'll go, "Do you feel anything?" "I don't feel anything." That really was the experience.
Right. Obviously, you made news in early 2000s for the Nice Dreams pipe company trumped up bust. I think it was one of like 53 people that actually got charged who actually served any time for it. And then you did your 9 months. I mean, it seems like we had the war on drugs, and there's the war in Iraq, or the war on, civil liberties. What's the next big war that the government's going to perpetrate on us?
The war on BS, I guess. I mean, I think that's where the internet comes in. Now we got these truth sites.
Right.
As soon as anybody, as soon as Hillary says she was under sniper fire, someone goes, "No, we checked it out. No sniper fire. Here's the pictures. Here's the proof." Who's lying? I mean, Hillary shouldn't have said that.
Right.
It was a lie, but it was a thought-up lie. It was very carefully prepared. Okay, we're going to tell this lie. We're going to do it now, so it's going to affect. These guys are like cobras.
Right.
They're okay. We're going to hypnotize the audience until they will believe us.
Right.
Usually, whatever they say, they're the opposite. You can trust me. Well, right as soon as they say that, they're against us. When I was in jail, I had the pleasure and the opportunity to delve into the spiritual world. I hesitate to say religion, because religion is more or less packaging these belief systems and channeling it through the Pope, for instance, or some representative of God, so to speak. When the truth really is that we all have DNA, we all are on this universe together, and that we all have access to the computer or to the knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that realization that cause and effect. So the oil prices go up, the electric car is invented, or pulled out of mothballs, because it's always been around. And nothing can stop the electric car now, because the electric car is the answer to wars, to all the problems. And so these oil people that are so worried that they're going to lose their livelihood, well, now they're raising more prices because they're going to need more money, because they're all going to be out of work. Eventually, they're going to be like the cobbler on the horseshoe.
Right.
They're going to be looking for a new gig.
Right.
So that's what you learn, cause and effect. So no matter what Bush does that seems evil, there's good that comes out of it. That's the nature of the
balance of the universe.
That's the balance of the universe.
So it seems like jail probably wasn't such a bad trip, considering who you met and what you took from it. How is your experience in jail and your relationship to government and influencing your comedy and your stand-up now?
Oh, are you kidding? I use the comedy now as it's an introduction to get into some heavy spiritual philosophies that I mean, normally no one would ever even want to sit through. So anyway, I got a gig in Guam, and I wanted Shelby to come with me, just for a vacation. She goes, "Nah, I don't want to go. I just want to sit in the dressing room while you're on stage." I said, "Well, how about if I put you in the show?" And it was classic. You can see her. She was like, she looks at me. "Really?" I said, "Yeah," because she was an actress.
Right.
She'd been out auditioning and getting turned down. She said, okay, I'll do it. And so that was about 10 years ago, and then and now she's. I've had many people, ladies mostly, come up and say, "I just want to see her. She's so great." Her career is just like, her comedy career is just going crazy.
So that's got to make you happy?
Well, I write it. I mean, she has to pry it out of me sometimes.
Welcome back.
Okay.
It's great to have you here, man.
Thank you.
Have a great show.
Thank you.